Game
this is still
started.
Okay, we got a game. Fireball from the U.S. Opening with E4. Oh, you know, I've been having a lot of fun with E4, E5 games. Let's try another one. Oh, the King's Gambit. Okay, talk about fun. Okay, the traditional line. So let's go ahead and play in the main line. I haven't played this in a while. I've been trying to find ways to avoid playing the main line because I get in trouble so badly. Let's see, Bishop C4. I guess the other move is D4 here. Now, the idea with this is to support the pawn on F5 here and keep the dark squared bishop cramped. But you do have to watch about the knight. The knight can come into these two squares and put pressure on F7. So defending this square is logical. Also, the move D6 is possibly an idea here. And you have to be careful when you develop the knight, you undefend this pawn. So possibly you want to play A6 before playing knight F6. So A6 now is possible because takes, and he can exchange rooks here. But that pawn is still defended. And so I don't think that transaction was particularly good. Now, if white plays the move H4 a little bit earlier before you've had a chance to develop the bishop, then you are forced to push ahead with a move like G4. Okay, let's get a few other pieces out. Let's put that pawn on D6. Maybe bishop to bishop G4 is an idea, possibly. And then this knight, maybe to C6 or D7. Sometimes you want to play the pawn to C6, but actually he's eliminated the idea of knight C3. You want to keep the knight sometimes out of these squares. B5 and D5, so you play the move C6. But now that his knight is blocked in by this pawn on C3, I think I can play knight to C6 myself. And then I'll move my queen and castle queenside, and then try and develop the rest of my pieces. But the main thing is, well, not the main thing. One of the things is not to fall too far behind in development. Okay, so he is potentially coming into the square on B5, but that's not so dangerous. I think if he comes there, I will just kick it with the move A6. Now that is annoying, though. That's putting pressure here and here at the same time. So how am I going to deal with this? So I could play knight to A4, attacking the queen, supporting the pawn on B7, knight to A5, attacks the queen, supports the pawn on A7. If he checks, I have the move C6, queen check, C6, and if bishop here check, I will move my king to this square on D7, and where it's in the shelter of the bishop should be okay. And but that loses the knight. That's annoying. Okay, so the other plan is just to develop this knight, and I see. Is there a way to defend that pawn before I give up on this whole thing? How about bishop back to here, defending the pawn, and you can take that pawn and fork the take on B7. That forks the knight and the rook. Rook here unfortunately loses the knight. Knight's defended, so I can play. That's an idea. Okay, so bishop to H5, defending the pawn. Queen takes B7. Knight to A5, hitting the bishop and hitting the queen. The queen moves as long as there's no check. There is a check. There's a check there, but I can play c6, defended by the knight. Queen moves again, and then I can exchange the bishop. Let's try it. Okay, bishop here, defending on f7, so I don't get destroyed on the king side. It's often the case that you have to give a pawn back, so everything is protected. He's just got a check here, and then I have c6, which defends the knight and blocks the check. And now he's got to move the queen again. This file is not hospitable. This, he can take over here. Oh, that's annoying. So I got 2 pawns out of that. Then I get rid of that bishop, so I'm not losing this pawn over here. And what have I got? I can castle queenside. I'm down a couple of pawns. He's hitting this pawn. Castling is not such a big deal at this point. What's more important is I'm losing another pawn. That's really annoying. Okay, how about if I hit his knight? Which one of these knights is more vulnerable? This one can come here with check. Okay, I play pawn to e4, hitting the knight. He goes here, check. I play king to pawn to d5, king to d7, hitting the knight. You can grab that pawn. King to e7, hitting the knight. Well, I want to go to d7. Okay, maybe I go to d7 right away. I give up this pawn over here, and I counterattack and through the center by bringing my rook to e8. That's my idea for now. He's doubling on this guy, so let's throw in this move. And if he takes, I take back, and then the knight moves, and then I get to check his king. If he advances the pawn, if he advances the pawn, then I gain the knight, so he didn't really have that option. So I did get to open up a file onto his king, so let's make use of that. Let's pin that knight. He unpins. Now this is under attack. So let's defend that pawn. Yeah, so black is 2 pawns up, which is, white is 2 pawns up, which is pretty good. And I have a check here, but the knight is guarding that square. Check, rook takes, hits the bishop. Check, knight takes, rook takes, and then the bishop goes somewhere. Then I maneuver my bishop somewhere. You know, he should have considered rook to the corner, skewering these 2 bishops. This guy is protected at the moment, but let's get this bishop a little closer to the action. Okay, so now I have a check. Knight takes. Bishop takes. This knight gets to move with a check. That's annoying. So I could go to a square like this where there's no check. So now I'm thinking, knight here, check. Knight takes. Bishop takes. Pawn takes, because this knight can't move with check. And then pawn takes.
Check.
Just to disrupt things a bit. And maybe pick up a loose pawn. We'll see. I couldn't quite tell at the end of all that if I'm really winning that pawn or not. I can play bishop takes knight, and how's he defending? Yeah, I guess it's hard for him to defend that pawn after
Server announcement.
Back. Instead of taking my bishop, he could move his knight, I guess. That's another option. As long as he's not moving with the tempo, that's the main thing. Because that would lose a piece if he was able to move that knight with check. That's why I had to move my king. Yeah, if he doesn't if he doesn't take my bishop, he just moves the knight away. Then I have this nice pin here. Okay, what are the threats? Here, 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 here. So why don't I just pin this piece? So I'm down 2 pawns, but I have the 2 bishops. That's an interesting trade-off. The 2 bishops are worth maybe half a pawn, but it's something to talk about. Let's see, if he defends with the rook, do I have anything? I guess if he defends with the rook, I could go after the pawn on g4, maybe. Yeah, that's pretty logical. Let's see, I could play, this light squared bishop needs to get a little more active. If I put it here where he can take it with the rook, then I can take here with check. Does not seem to gain anything. And where else can this light squared bishop go? Pretty funny stuff. Okay, maybe I just move the bishop, the pawn out of the way, move pawn to f6, and put this bishop to e8. Pawn to f6, bishop to e8. That's a weird idea.
Check.
Ah, that's annoying. Okay, he unpins the knight, so he got rid of my problem bishop. Let's see, his knight's not coming in here anywhere. Let's see if I can activate my rook. Maybe I get the rook to the 7th rank here. No doing. Okay, over this way maybe? Now if I play a5 here, and he takes, then I can get behind the pawns and gobble them up. If he pushes ahead, well, I can still get behind the pawn and sort of artificially isolate the b pawn. I'll get behind the a pawn, win it, and then his b pawn will be running ahead, but it's not supported by the c pawn because I have this d pawn here, stopping these guys from coming forward. Not that it's really stopping them, it's just a trade. If he pushes ahead immediately with c4, I can't take it because knight takes c4 check, and then he picks up this pawn on a5, so after c4 I have to take on b4, but then I have a passed pawn, I can play with that. While my opponent is thinking, I just wanted to mention this is like a bonus game. I'm going to be away from my computer for about 10 days, so I thought I would play a few extra games with the video annotation and upload them all at once. So you'll have something to look at while I'm away from the computer and not able to upload any games. So there'll be a bunch of uploads, and this is the first bonus game, because I try to do one game a day, but I won't be able to for a while. Yeah, so he pushes, that's probably the best course. Now if he keeps running, my king can come over here and stop it. I can just stop it this way. Loses that pawn, but wins that pawn. So I've gone from being 2 pawns down to 1 pawn down. It's an improvement. I thought he might, oh yeah, he can't bring his rook over to, cannot bring his rook over to defend it. So that runner was just a loser. So now here there's no check from the knight. There's a check from the rook here. So I have to be careful. Knight here, rook takes pawn, rook to there, check, king here. The checks from the knight are here and here. They're covered. So I've got an outside pass pawn now. Cool. So this game, yeah, I'm definitely going to upload this one, even though I'm not not doing so great right now. I thought it's always an interesting opening, that famous King's Gambit. And we'll take a look at it in a post-mortem to see. Now, I can check the king here. Does that help or hurt? He can go forward, and I can't get my rook to this square. Now my king is getting a little bit boxed in. I can't go to these, to this row or to this row. But I have a few squares to the side, so I'm not getting checkmated. So let's move my rook down here and just start running my passer. You've got to pass pawn. You've got to push it. Now there's no particular checks from the knight here.
Check.
There's checks from the rook. And of course he can win this pawn. There are probably even easier ways to win. Now question is, which side do I want to be on? He's unfortunately keeping my king out from going forward with these 2 pawns here. Nice setup for him. After he takes, where's my bishop going? Well, let's go down. And now he's got potential moves with his knight.
Time warning.
Let's put the bishop here. Yeah, just going after the pawn. It makes sense. Okay, if I advance, he can just take it. So why don't I attack this pawn over here instead? He takes it, I take this pawn. And I can go after this that pawn there, possibly. Not sure where I want to go here. I guess I want to get away from those pawns a little bit. I don't want to fall into a check.
Check.
But I can go here. And I don't want to get skewered between the the rook. The rook can often fork a king and a bishop just by, if they happen to be in the same row or column, just by landing between them. So I have a check here against the king, and then I can pick up that pawn. And he has no fork with
Check.
his knight. Now this might be losing, but I got to grab the chance to grab those pawns while I can. So I didn't calculate if this is actually safe. Also, I'm short on time, so let's actually, this is pretty good. Let's go after this
Check.
pinned knight. So exchange everything and take the pawn, and it's a draw. I did it. I did it.
Check. Game drawn.
Woohoo! Saved a draw. Okay, I'm going to upload this, and I will upload a postmortem on this shortly. And as I said, this is one of those bonus games, so this will be part of a group that I'm uploading all at once, and then I won't upload for about 10 days. So hope you guys find something to enjoy in the meantime, and I'll see you later. Bye.